Well, let's go to the chamber now. We can get a bit of this debate. It is the issue, the most familiar one here, of post-primary selection. Dominic Badley of the SDLP is currently speaking. As I say, the SDLP have modified their position somewhat today. We'll hear a bit from Dominic Badley now on what that is.
We have brought forward this amendment today. And I would appeal to the Alliance Party to join with us because, as Trevor outlined, they're largely in agreement with the major elements of our amendment. But, Mr Speaker, there is a consensus, clearly, that an unregulated system is not desirable and that an interim regulated system is needed. The SDLP amendment offers that regulation as a short-term solution pending agreement on a longer-term outcome. Our amendment is supporting a regulated situation for 2 years, but one which is not solely dependent on a test. We would prefer, as our policy outlines, that transfer would take place without the use of a test, but given the exceptional circumstances which prevail currently, we believe that the partial use of a CCA test is preferable to the use of an unlimited number of other tests in an unregulated system. Yes?
Right. Interested in him in the outline of what is now presumably SDLP party policy. Has this policy been explained to the largely middle-class parents of Our Lady's Grammar School, the Sacred Heart Grammar School, Abbey Grammar School and St Coleman's Grammar School, St Coleman's College in Newry? Because those parents are not supportive of the policy so outlined.
Well, I doubt whether those parents whose views Mr Kennedy seems to know so intimately would be voters for Mr Kennedy's party. I think they're probably more likely to be supporters of our own party. So I'm sure that they would. Mr Speaker, as I said, I doubt whether those people outlined by Mr Kennedy would support his party views. And we know, as I said earlier, from the Chief Inspector's report, which was debated here early, that many post-primary schools, particularly in the non-selective sector, are continuing to feel the effects of demographic decline. In fact, enrolment figures have dropped by almost 4,000, and over a third of schools have fewer than 500 pupils. This is a potentially disastrous situation. Demographic decline is going to get worse over the next few years, leading to unplanned outcomes in some areas in the form of school closures. And we need to act now to deal with that situation before it actually occurs. As well as that, the entitlement framework for Key Stage 4 pupils is required to be fully in place by 2013. We need to have the arrangements in place to ensure that schools can deliver the range of choice needed to fulfil the requirements of the entitlement framework. We need the process of area-based planning to continue in order that each area has the opportunity to shape its future educational provision. And that does not mean a one-size-fits-all solution, nor one which is imposed on the local area from on high, but one which best suits local circumstances, be that in Newry, as Mr Kennedy mentioned, in Omagh, Derry, Lisburn, Belfast, Enniskillen or anywhere else. And I think that the Chief Inspector put his finger on one important aspect of the public pulse on this issue: the uncertainty about the practical implication of the Department's proposals. People want to know what the outworkings of the proposals for their local area are going to be. And it is only through the area-based planning process that they will see what those local outcomes will be. That is why it is so important for this process to continue and for local plans to be agreed within each sector and between the various sectors. We can
OK, Dominic Badley there of the SDLP. Mark, the key thing that the SDLP amendment does is, for now, it wants the Education Minister to reinstate a CCA test, and that is a change from their point of view. Yeah,
I mean, this was the test that Katrina Ruan actually got in place. This was meant to be part of the sort of phase out of academic selection. Now, Alliance has put up this notion it should be used in an interim period, and here we have the SDLP. We didn't catch the full extent of Dominic Bradley's speech there, but he is backing the use of such a test for an interim period of 2 years in order for them then to work out a compromise that will lead to legally binding regulations as opposed to the sort of chaotic system that we now face. Obviously ups the pressure on Sinn Féin, particularly if this echoes what we understand is going on behind the scenes, which is the Catholic Church's working group bringing out its proposals. So if that is the case, it's an interesting shift. We'll have to see how Sinn Féin deal with it.
OK, Sinn Féin will have to respond. We shall see.